Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you very much for coming here today. My name is Swoszowski, and I'm one of the co-founders of Grape company, currently serving as head of AI R&D. And today, I would like to tell you a bit about how to do enterprise AI at scale, based on our experiences with our customers. So, firstly, let me briefly tell you who we are, what we do. So, we are a software consultancy company that uses cloud, AI, and advanced analytics and expertise to build custom solutions. And we help enterprises identify, understand, and use data to make data-driven decisions. And together with Adepto, another company, we form Grape Group. Adepto specializes in building AI and big data solutions, and which is something we're very proud of. This year, they have been voted one of the top 10 AI consulting companies by Forbes magazine. We work with big enterprises, with big customers, primarily from the automotive industry, but we also have customers from insurance, manufacturing, retail, so also other verticals. But let's get to the point. So, how to do enterprise AI at scale? Before we can talk scale, we need to start from the beginning. So, probably most of you have been at some point in time at the moment there where your organizations wanted to start with AI, and usually they had to tackle a lot of common challenges, starting from, of course, understanding why bother, right? What AI can really give me as a benefit, as a value. Of course, convincing decision makers or people with budget that this actually makes sense, right, to invest in that. And not to forget those technical aspects, technical challenges related to data stuff, understanding data, how to get it, how to access it, and so on, and also competences and skills when it comes to really building the actual solutions. And usually, and this is actually an example of a process that we use when we work with our customers. It's not an ultimate solution, but usually how it's done. When we work with a customer, helping them to start with AI, we just pick together, try to find those several ideas or concepts, places in their organization or business unit where we can see, and they also can see the biggest value. And we push it through this funnel to eventually just pick one or two candidates for building the actual solution, the actual first POC, develop a POC solution, then push it to production and have this very first AI-driven application that can give them a business value. So everybody's happy, but this is just the first step, like we said, right? This is the initial step. This is not yet the scaling up. So we have one solution out there, but there are many more waiting in line, because in an enterprise organization, even in this process, I've shown you a moment ago, initially we had several ideas, right? Several areas in the business unit where we could already provide some improvement, some optimization, some enhancement with AI. But now in a big organization, we have many more places or departments and so on, where AI can really bring the benefit. So how to do that, right? How to scale it up? The answer is very simple. You just need to repeat the very same process and apply it to all those places. And of course, that comes with another set of challenges. The ones that we had initially with the initial AI adoption, they are still there, but there are new ones that we did not really care about, or we did not have to care about in the beginning, namely all things related to data governance, right? Data accessibility, availability, making sure that right people can access right data with appropriate level of permissions and so on. Of course, all things related to productionizing those applications and solutions that we built. So automation, pipeline, CI/CD, testing, all the stuff related to more, let's say, software engineering part, and not really the actual data modeling or training models and so on. But this is also something very important. And not to forget all the problems with data security, privacy, GDPR, and so on. So these are the things that when we build our first prototype, we don't really care about, because we are just doing a quick R&D just to show the value. We focus on the business value. So we don't care about really sticking to the rules. But if we want to do this in a repeatable way, then of course those three become much more important than the ones at the bottom, right? Because the management and the decision makers, they are already convinced, right? They know, they understand. Yes, this is working, right? We understand that AI is the future. We want to invest in that, but now we need to make sure that this is done in a governed, managed way. One additional thing, which becomes or remains still a challenge even at the scale-up stage, is this technology and skill domain. Because at the beginning, we are looking, first of all, for data science, analytical skills. But here, because of this data governance, deployment, productionization gaps, we also need those software engineering skills. So altogether, this is like a very, very huge set of technical competences that are required to do that right. So to be able to repeat the whole process, we need to build or formulate this kind of a framework for enterprise AI. And we can look at it in those three domains, three aspects. First is organizational. Second, related to technology, technical one. And of course, all the data aspects. So from the organizational perspective, we need this repeatability, right? We need to make sure that this initial prototype, the first POC we have built, right now we can do in a consistent way. Also to ensure the quality of the solution, ensure that we can adhere to certain rules or boundaries that we need to define within our organization. And of course, security remains the very important aspects here. So we need to define certain guidelines, like boundaries for this framework, and define or describe how to build in a repeatable way those solutions within those boundaries. Technology aspects, of course, we need the right toolbox. We need the right set of tools and technologies to build those solutions. And this, you could say, is quite simple because, well, even here at this event, there is a multitude of various vendors offering their products and tools. Of course, the tools are available. They're out there. The only difficulty is that, well, out of those 100 data platforms or analytical platforms, which one is the right for me? So this is not, of course, an easy answer. But still, we need to just carefully pick the ones that are, I would say, most relevant for our needs. Of course, the other elements in our toolbox, so the infrastructure, be it cloud infrastructure or on-prem, is also important for the actual deployment to make sure that we have a place, a space somewhere to put our workloads on. and automating the whole thing, so pipelining, CI/CD. Like I said, this is more related to the software engineering part. And of course, data aspects. This is also something we need to have in our framework. So we need to define how and who and how can access the data, how to expose, make the data accessible for our models, or even for maybe simple visualization in some cases, maybe also for some other applications. This needs to be defined so that people working on implementation of subsequent AI-driven apps can know how to do this. So yeah, if we look at this as a framework, set of rules, set of guidelines, then the question is it something that we need to build ourselves ground up? Or maybe we can just buy one of those end-to-end platforms, again, even offered here, that will solve all of our problems? The answer is probably not this or that, build or buy. It's usually build and buy. It's just important to understand and see which elements of the frameworks I can buy, but which of them I have to build myself. I need to define myself. So I think the answer here is that all the elements that are relevant and specific to my business, this needs to be built internally. This needs to be defined internally, because only me, only you in your organizations have the domain knowledge, understanding of your business that allows you to tell what data is available, how paranoid we are about the security, and so on. So all the processes or the ways of doing stuff, this should be built and described, defined internally. Also, security requirements, data governance rules. This is something that is connected very tightly with the core business, right? So there is no one universal set of regulations that you can apply. Okay, this is how you do scale up AI in manufacturing, right? It all depends on the actual business. So therefore, this needs to be defined internally in the organization. The toolbox, on the other hand side, is something that can be easily bought, right? Because usually the organizations that want to adopt AI and do it at scale, they are not software companies, right? Of course, there are some, but mostly the core business is something different. So it is, of course, possible for them to do the whole thing by themselves and say, yeah, we can just hire 500 software engineers, build our internal software house, and build data platform, build the whole cloud infrastructure around that, and so on and so on. So build the whole toolbox, but it is probably not the best approach here, especially that there are many, many tools out there which are very good, and you just need to put all those pieces of the puzzle together, right, to make it work. But there is this one domain or area of competence which is in the middle. So these are actually the technical skills and knowledge. First of all, how to put those building blocks together in the toolbox part, but also how to make sure that they adhere to all those regulations and rules that you define internally. Also, you need to have in-house a certain understanding, certain level of understanding and expertise to be able to know how those tools work, how to use them. It could be similar to, say, when you want to build a house, right? You know what kind of house you want to build, how it should look, right? If it's 1 floor, 2 floor, what's the interior, what's the furnishing, and so on. But you do not necessarily need to understand how exactly build it based on the project, what particular tool you should use, and so on. But at the same time, it is good to understand difference between, I don't know, this type of what's the plus or minus of this type of material, right? Why is it better for my particular house, and so on. So certain level of competence should be in-house, but most of that you can actually buy from the outside. So having that in mind, so this whole framework, enterprise AI framework approach, I would like to show you two examples, two case studies, well, maybe two approaches on how this concept was actually implemented in real life. So these are two examples of our two customers, our enterprise customers that we've been working with. We are still working with them on implementing AI solutions, data analytics solutions. So first of them, the approach number one, I called it internal AI and analytics COE, Center of Excellence. And the basic concepts here was that there is this internal core team, internal to the customer organization, supported by a number of external expert teams, providing their expertise in AI and data. So in this model, this internal core team is responsible for defining and providing those guidelines, those boundaries within the framework related to how things are done, what is allowed, what is not allowed, so all the security rules, governance. Also, the core team provides some guidelines and policies when it comes to the actual toolbox. So what is in the toolbox? What is in our tool set available to build those solutions? And those external expert teams, our company being one of them in this case, they just provide their expertise, their know-how on how to use those tools to build the actual solution that is needed here. So how this works? How does it work in a very high level? So we have this central COE team as a central, let's say, proxy point in the whole organization, and this team is working with various business units or business departments within the customer organization, acting as a kind of a business partner for them. So collecting their requirements, their needs, also trying to understand where in their particular part of the business they can provide some enhancement or optimization using AI. On the other hand side, they are also acting as let's say, interface for those external vendor teams, which are responsible for building the actual solution. So like I said, Grape in this particular case is one of those, provides their expertise, is one of the vendors that provide their know-how and experience in building AI solutions. And when it comes to the toolbox, here also this internal team is responsible for managing and providing the whole infrastructure. In this case, we are using both cloud infrastructure and also the internal one on-prem. However, the internal team is not, let's say, fully, is not responsible for provisioning all the resources. Let's take, for instance, Azure, right? Because here we have Azure ML or Azure Cloud. So, of course, the internal team, the COE, is responsible for defining this governance rules. However, certain resources are not can be created by those external expert teams individually. So there is a certain stage of, let's say, independency and flexibility. Of course, when it comes to internal infrastructure part, this is much more controlled. There are stricter rules applied there. So the internal team is managing most of it, also responsible for provisioning certain resources. So I don't know if it's an OpenShift. OpenShift is used as a deployment environment, but also some internal VMs for certain workloads. Sometimes they need to run directly on a VM rather than a container. And also, of course, connect data connectors to all the data sources or data lakes. This is all managed and controlled and provisioned by the internal team. So if we look at pluses and minuses of this approach, definitely there is a high level of control of what's happening, right? And we have this internal team has a full oversight of how those solutions are built, right? Because they provide all those rules, the guidelines. They also have this supervision role over external vendors, and they can control and ensure that the quality is at the right level, and also that all the built applications and solutions adhere to the defined framework. At the same time, because there is just one central point, it may become a bottleneck, especially when a internal demand from the business teams and for the business departments, the business units, just increases, right? So this is something even that we have sometimes experienced, that we know in the pipeline there are many projects waiting in line, and simply this internal team is not really able to push them all through or even route them to appropriate expert teams. So as it scales up even more, this approach might not be enough. So let's look at the other approach. And this is also an example from another of our customers, this time from the automotive industry. So in this case, this is a much larger, much bigger scale. And they have organized themselves slightly differently. So they also have this, let's say, core internal team. However, I called it AI platform team because their role and their focus is slightly different than in the first approach. And this internal team, this AI platform team is supported, or maybe the other way around, it is supporting the internal data science teams that are responsible for building those multiple solutions internally for the customer. So here in this case, we are embedded in the platform team. So we are in this left box. We are helping the customer to make sure that internal data science teams have the right environment, have the right toolbox to build their solutions. And approach is slightly different here because there is much more expertise and skill in-house, both on the platform team and also on the actual data science teams. And the platform team is not really defining how to build those applications, how to build AI solutions, but it is focusing on providing the infrastructure, the environment, the whole ecosystem of tools and services, the whole toolbox, just to put it simply. So in this case, the focus is on creating this enterprise AI platform, which is actually a set of various services and various tools. And the idea here was also to make it like a tiered kind of platform, depending on the actual competence level and expertise of the data science team or internal team, because sometimes they are not really data scientists, sometimes they are just more of business analysts, people that understand data, understand the information that they have in data, but they are not programmers, they are not engineers. So the way it was designed assumed that for some teams, They want to work, for instance, directly with the Python code in Jupyter notebooks. That's why this is the part on the left side where we have Jupyter notebooks. We have automation done provided by Metaflow. We have S3 as a storage. Also GitLab for repository and other tools for pipelining for CI/CD and testing. So it's more like a software development environment, but of course used by data scientists. However, for those teams or for those users who are not really, either they don't have the expertise and competence, or they just don't need to write their own scripts in Python, we are providing more, let's say, high-level or more self-service products and platforms, namely DataIQ and Cloudera. So it's, like I said, it's all tiered platform. Of course, all those services have direct connections to the underlying data platform to data lakes, to databases, and so on. So independently, if you want to use DataIQ for your analysis, or Cloudera, or just write your notebooks, you have ready-to-use connectors that you can pull your data in and just apply that. But there is also one very important thing that the core team, the platform team in this case, is responsible for. So on the left, we have those security guidelines, security rules. So again, certain boundaries within which the internal data science teams can operate and need to adhere to. So again, looking at the pluses and minuses of this approach, definitely there is much more capacity and then throughput in structuring your enterprise AI approach, because those internal teams, they work directly within each business unit, and because they have this independency and more flexibility, they need to create the solutions on their own. Also, because the platform team is responsible for making sure that this whole toolbox is quite comprehensive and answers the needs and requirements of all those different various units, we do not have this tools and technology redundancy that is very often happening, where, I don't know, team A is introducing certain platform in this part of the organization, and the other part of the organization, another team is introducing quite a similar platform, but from a different vendor, and so on. So they are making sure that there is no redundancy in the tool set. But on the other hand side, that's onboarding onto such extensive enterprise AI platform is much more difficult, right? Because you need to have much higher set of skills and competences, technical competences in-house to be able to do that. And also, because the toolbox is much more controlled, it's more difficult to do sometimes a fast prototyping kind of way, because number of rules and then those boundaries are much stricter, I would say, than in other approaches. And it's hard to say which approach is better. From my perspective, I would say that the second one could be an evolution of the first one. So like I said, in the first one, this core internal team might become a bottleneck at a certain point, right? So at a certain level of advancement, it might evolve slightly into and slowly into this approach number 2, where we just pull in more skill in-house and enable them to use this internally built data platform. My time's up, so with that, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. You can get the presentation here. If you scan the QR code, you can get all the slides. But also, if you'd like to hear more, please visit our booth number 745 here at the event. Me and my colleagues would be happy to tell you more in details what we did for those customers and also for other. So thank you very much for your attention.